as a book and as a movie, Pet Sematary is a flat-out horror novel. In other words, it's a book that basically says to the reader, look, I'm a horror novel. I'm going to behave like a horror novel. And that's certainly the tone of the movie as well. It starts in a graveyard, you know, from the very get-go of the film. You know you're inside a horror movie.
My agent sent me the script, and I remember the day I got it. I was sitting in the editing room working on Like a Prayer, the video I did for Madonna, and I had just recently completed my first feature film, which was Siesta, with Ellen Barkin and Jodie Foster and Gabriel Byrne, and I thought, a horror movie. I didn't really consider myself a horror director at that time. I love Stephen King, though, and I read all of his books, so I read the script, and I got very intrigued with the visual possibilities of the movie, and I met with Paramount. But the test I had to pass was I had to meet with Stephen King. So I flew to New York and had that meeting, and it was just a really good meeting. Stephen and I really hit it off. I mean, I remember our collaboration with great fondness, because whenever I needed to discuss something creatively, he was always available to me.
And now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and comfort you and lift you up and give you peace. Amen.
Stephen King plays the preacher at the funeral. I love that. I mean, it's, you know, it's his Hitchcock cameo, you know, and he's perfect for it. You know, he looks like he should be at a funeral. It was priceless. It really was. And Stephen King was a very nice man. He actually came to the readings when we first got up there to Maine, and he would sit there and drink a can of Jolt, and he'd read out loud from the obituaries. You know, so whether he was playing the part of being Stephen King or not, I found it fascinating. And his house was 20 minutes from where we were shooting. You know, so he was there a lot.
You got it. Gage is flying it. You got it?
I remember when we were filming the scene where Gage was about to get hit by the truck.
Get the baby! Get the baby!
As I remember when I was running from the picnic table to the road, I had an urgency about me I've never had before. It was so frightening to think that someone you love might die if you don't get there in time. And so when we finally got to shoot the part where I'm down on my knees, that scream that came out came from that deep fear in all of us of losing someone we love. That was not hard, actually. It just felt right, you know, to let it out like that. I'm sure if it ever happened to me, that's what would happen, you know. He would just scream.
I kind of thought of it almost like an illustration from a fairy tale, you know, because it was kind of a fairy tale house that Judd was living in. I don't know why it was scary, but I knew it was going to be scary to see that big man and then his heel revealed to us like that.
Where did you...
It's Miko when he comes up from under the bed and you see it's a real child. I knew there was no way for that to be a puppet and for it to be frightening, because you had to believe it was the real little boy. So the sequence where he bites Judd's neck, he actually does bite Judd, but we worked it out where he was playing with Judd, you know, and you're going to pretend to bite me, but you won't really bite me because that would, you know, hurt me, and that's a bad thing. And so he came over and he falls on Judd and he pretends to bite his neck. And then, you know, his time was up and he went back to his nursery, and then we put the prosthetic on and brought the puppet in, and then when the head pulls away, it's a very quick shot and the puppet's head is out quickly and you're focused on the wound and on the horror of what's just happened. And a lot of credit to Fred. If you watch that scene carefully, that's acting. That's what sold it. Once the taboo had been broken, along with the resurrection of the cat and the baby, demonic forces were unleashed in the area. And the demonic forces were bringing back the fear that Rachel Creed had at her sister's death.
I finally came back for you, Rachel.
And that Gage, or the demon that he has become, would assume the form of Zelda when Rachel first sees him. And that fear would then be like driven away by the sight of her own son. So I dressed Gage in this little velveteen outfit that was reminiscent of the portrait that was hanging in Rachel's home, because I wanted the demons that destroyed Rachel to come from her past. So I just went for sort of maximum emotional manipulation.
Oh, Gage, Gage.
I brought you something, Mommy.
What happens terribly in the finale, of course, of Pet Sematary is that the father who wishes to have his child back, who's died as a result of a terrible accident, is forced to murder his own child to put the child to rest, which is a far more terrible thing than suffering the death of a child in an accident. And hence, again, the moral, sometimes dead really is better.
Well, the final fight between Gage and Lewis was really difficult, because it was going to be difficult to believe that someone that was 2.5 feet high could successfully subdue, a grown man in a convincing way.
That was so difficult. I mean, because this is this little kid that I love playing with, and I just really couldn't be around him, and I felt really bad for him, but you do what you have to do.
Dale was really good in that scene, and we used a combination of Nico and a puppet, but again, I think it was acting that saved the day, because Nico was up for it, and he did a great job when he stumbles back and says, "No fair, no fair."
No fair.
That's what sells the fight scene. The house across the street from the Creed house was just a little modern cottage, and it was wrong for Judd. And we knew we had to burn it down. So what we did was we built a complete facade for the Judd Crandall house. And we could protect the house that was there with some sort of asbestos shield. And then we burned down the skin on camera. And that was kind of an amazing technical feat.
It's interesting to compare the endings of the novel and the film. In the novel Pet Sematary, the husband is waiting for his wife to return. What happens then is never quite revealed to us. But there's that glimmer of hope. Maybe his wife is going to come back to him and everything's going to be all right. In the film, it goes the step beyond, and what's coming back for him is simply his death.
In fact, we went in and we did reshoots. That's right.
It was felt that we needed that last little bit of dark humor, and that we needed a little pow at the end of the movie. That was a really hard scene for Denise, because that makeup was really horrible. It was a very good prosthetic. It really did look like her face had been eaten away.
I've been lucky enough to kiss some really beautiful women over the years, when I've been filming, and that wasn't a good one, I gotta tell you. That makeup, it's just, but I threw myself into it, let me tell you.
The ultimate goal there was to send people out kind of with a smile on their face that, oh, that Lewis, he did it again.
I never thought it would be as popular as it was, nor did I ever dream that it would have such longevity. It's still popular, people still recognize me from it, and so for good reason it hasn't disappeared, and I don't think it will. It's one of those landmark horror films for the Stephen King canon.
It took everyone by surprise. Nobody expected it to be such a success. I mean, I, will always be incredibly thankful to Stephen for giving me that material and the opportunity to do that, because it's very, very satisfying to see that it holds up visually.
Well, I think the movie holds up too, because it's, it's a character study, in a lot of ways. Because you're just following this family's, path of tragedy. And everyone deals with tragedy a different way, and Stephen King deals with it the way Stephen King deals with it.
Sometimes